And we're live. I'm sharing this on Facebook as we speak. One of the reasons it took me so long to get started, I want to get started like an hour ago, is that I was trying to get fucking Facebook to update the thumbnail for this video. But whatever, this one works. It's just not as well cropped as I would like. Anyway, sharing this on Facebook, there's a shit ton of shit to talk about. It's going to be a relatively informal stream. I don't have a script. I don't have somebody I'm interviewing. All I've got is a bunch of stuff that I'm going to start talking about. And in general, a bunch of kind of rants that I want to address. But all that aside, it's been a great year in terms of just general success. Honestly, there's been a lot of failure, there's been a lot of pitfalls, there's been a lot of things hanging me up, but I gotta tell you, the idea that it's coming to a close to me is just a sign that there's gonna be a lot more stuff to worry about in 2020. I mean, I don't have any inkling of a notion that 2020 is going to be better than 2019, or that this new decade is going to be a fantastic new start. I think a bunch of people are sort of giving their New Year's resolutions for the entire decade coming forward, and most of them don't have any inclination toward making it a better decade than the previous ones were. And I also think it's very much grass is on the grass isn't greener on the other side thing. A very much wherever you go, there you are thing. We're still carrying all these problems with us into 2020. There's still a massive surveillance superstate. Trump prolonged the NSA spying programs and the Patriot Act. He kept a bunch of shit that that generally infringes upon our freedom. He's not the champion of liberty that his adherents claim. But that's not the point of this. The point of this is that there's still a lot of stuff coming down. Everything that was wired is now wireless. So this Neuralink that's coming out that Elon Musk says is going to be a championing medical science advancement, that's gonna be wireless someday. They're gonna have wireless input-output access to your brain. That's insane to me. The fact that a CIA-backed venture capital firm is still funding video games that people play on their phones that send that data to U.S. intelligence agencies is still a thing that's happening. And I'm going to make an entire video series blowing CIA venture capital and general intelligence money out of the water. In the same way that I destroyed the war on cops, I'm going to sort of expose CIA venture capital. And it's going to be a series because I can't do that all in one video and still have people be interested. But my general mentality is that there's still a lot to worry about, and in that regard, I wanted to get some of these questions answered from people that might have questions, and I also wanted to discuss these things that might be happening. Virginia's still doing the crackdown. It's still a blue state, so they might get away with it. And not that it matters, because they would try to get away with it anyway, regardless of whether or not it's a blue state. I don't see any probable hope. And what I do see is a whole lot of reasons to be worried. And I wanted to talk about that. I also wanted to talk about, the things that happened in 2020, specifically to me and also to other people. For instance, there was this incident with this person, which I guess I'll be public about, which was Marcella, who smeared myself and a couple other people, and now people are starting to realize what she does, where she smears, then blocks people, then goes back into the shadows until it all blows over, sometimes deleting her account. And she doesn't prove what she's saying, she just says it, and actively lies quite a bit. So that happened, and people are starting to realize that now, so I'm happy about that. But generally speaking, there's a lot of people like that who want to stir something but don't actually have proof. Also, there was that incident in the middle of the year, basically, where I started to notice that this guy with the username of Bunny's Ideas, who was heavily involved in the libertarian community on Twitter, was seeming to hang out with a lot of pedophiles. And when I did a little digging, I found that he had an alternate account that admitted to being a pedophile. And so I sort of like started to poke him and see if this was his account, because I wanted to make absolutely sure, and eventually got him to admit it. And ever since then, his Twitter's been in gradual downturn until he eventually deleted it entirely. Like, I expected him to do what he had done multiple times and just delete it for 30 days and then come back and, you know, have problems with me temporarily and then delete it and then come back, just like a bunch of other people do. But he actually ended up fully deleting his account. He can still be found at Baby Bunny Riley, so he's still out there. He's still spreading his influence. But at least his primary account, which had almost 2,000 followers, and many of them in the libertarian community, is gone. I also got hate from a guy named Hoplu because I decided to go against him and also expose a list of people who were in his server on Discord, and this was after Discord had banned me for exposing pedophiles. Because they gave me a bunch of reasons that didn't actually seem to be true, and they refused to provide documentation after many requests for any proof that what they were accusing me of having done that they banned me for was something that I actually did. So they did all that, and this guy was still out there on Discord, so I had some of the people that were in Discord. I asked them if they'd be willing to, you know, go into his server and do some fact finding. And so they did that. They did some fact finding, and they found out, hey, this guy is allowing pedophiles to talk to 15-year-olds. So I exposed his list under my alternate account, which I'll be using more in the future. I sort of took a hiatus, an unplanned and unannounced hiatus from anti-pedo action, because I decided I wanted to focus on some anti-cop stuff for a moment, and I needed to focus my mind on it. I'm still gonna, you know, have my primary focus be against the state, and the way I see it, that still has a whole lot of pedos that are going to be in my crosshairs. There's an acronym floating around, especially in collapsitarian Twitter, that the world is run by BEPIGs, which are bankster, elitist, pedophile, Illuminati, Satanists, I think, something like that. And I couldn't, you know, I couldn't agree more. I think, well, some of these people are probably not Satanists, and some Satanists disavow harming little children. So, you know, it depends on the school you come from, I guess. But most people can agree that pedophiles are scum, they should be removed. But there's the fact that, like, it can't be a distraction, because there's always going to be sick people out there, and ultimately I need to start, like, really heavily focusing on the power structures behind them and what allow them to do what they do. So I'm going to try and do that a lot. But even being against them gets you people against you. Like, I'm on Facebook today getting messages about how I'm not libertarian enough because I don't think it's okay for adults to fuck 16-year-olds. And that's heavily disturbing and the kind of thing that would block most people from being interested in libertarianism as a political philosophy at all, much less as the apolitical philosophy it is when it's most refined. Anarchy. Most people aren't going to be into any philosophy that's going to put their kids at risk, their kids in danger. And so these people need to be routed out if we're to succeed. And I have zero problem saying that. I have zero problem saying that these people have no scientific backing behind their statements, their ideas, their motives, and they have no political like thing to gain except potentially making it easier for them and other people like them to do what they do, and that's victimize children. So I don't have a single problem going against these people, but it needs to not be my primary focus. Because that's the thing. I want to put out one video a week exposing pedophiles in power. I want to have the series called Pedos in Power, and I've already got episode 1 up on my channel if you guys want to see how that might look. And I recently purchased the professional license for hit film, which means that I'm going to have a lot more video production quality in my videos going forward. But, all of that aside, I just wanted to get that out there. There's a lot of stuff that happened this year. And I made my response video to Hoplu about the anarcho-coalitionism thing and basically, torched his entire argument. And so, there's that, too, where, I'm going to try and respond actively to people. I torched Knowing Better, who I'd never heard of before he was, jammed down my feed. He had this entire video where he tried to say that Columbus wasn't such a bad guy as everybody claimed he was, and he actually provided counter evidence to multiple claims when he made them. For instance, he said the encomienda was not a system of slavery when it was literally a system of slavery according to his screenshot he showed. I mean, there's a long series of people who just fucking cell phone. And I want to start destroying people who are enemies of liberty. And my goal in 2020 is to start absolutely, torching their arguments. So that's one of the things. I'm about to update my Patreon to this as well, but I have multiple tiers on my float, where you can, subscribe for a generally small amount of money a month, and you get to vote on, tell me the content you want in, the future. You can tell me, if you want me to interview somebody, if you want me to hit a subject, if you want me to do this, that, and I'll see if I can potentially do something similar to that. And there's a lot of stuff that I want to do also in 2020 that's going to be sort of surprising. But one of the things that I started recently is Harding Network, Harding_network on Twitter. And it's a place where I'm going to start sharing a bunch of people's content that isn't mine, that's sort of related to the libertarian/anarchist movement, but might not necessarily, my followers might not necessarily want to see all of that bombard them in their feed. A lot of it's going to be auto posts, and a lot of the other stuff is going to be stuff shared in signal boosting groups on Twitter direct messages. But generally the idea of that is going to be that it's going to be a feed where you can see my latest content and also the latest content of a bunch of other interesting and good people. And that you might not agree with what's posted there. You might think I'm full of shit. But the goal is to spread alternative thinking, to push it into a context where a lot of people who otherwise might not look at it might see it. So that's the general goal of that account. But it's also going to be where people can submit pieces to my site, potentially, if they decide they want to, if they decide they, for some reason, want to scourge their name with being affiliated with me. So there's a shit ton of stuff that's going to start happening. And I want to start hitting a lot of these points. I want to start hitting cops harder. I want to start hitting the military-industrial complex harder. I want to start hitting the intelligence and prison-industrial complexes harder. I want to start hitting pedos and tankies and GOP assholes who shill and sell out because Trump is in office. You know, I want to start hitting all these people, and I want to do it in a very specific way that can take down their entire argument. So there's a host of stuff that I want to start accomplishing. But I just wanted to get some of these things out there, and I also wanted to answer questions. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat, and there's plenty of time that I have to answer these things, potentially for hours, but it's probably going to be short, because I'm probably going to answer people's questions generally. Can I put my hair in a bun? I mean, I can, but I don't believe it looks good. And no, it's a big deal, Vernon. So, whatever. Let me check the chat to see if there's some... OMG, it's Jesus. Hello. I mean, I would hit cops. I have no ethical problem with hitting cops. So, I mean, there is that, but... I knew Jesus wasn't a Republican. Maybe. I don't know. I think he was probably closer to an anarchist, if anything. I think, like, generally speaking, he had a problem with authority, including the authority that tried to, like, co-opt his father's message. I mean, if you look at everything he did, it was always to piss on the authorities who tried to turn religion into a way to make money or to isolate power or whatever. There's a lot to be said for Christian anarchy. Are you advocating violence against Republicans? If they're aggressors, maybe. I don't know. This is disgusting. Only liberals resort to violence. The state is a gang. Every statist is violent. Why are you inciting violence? You're on a watch list. I actually have a shirt that says proud to be on a watch list. So there's that too. Start a revolution, one low viewer live stream from a one-bedroom flat at a time. If you're trying to troll, it's amusing. This is a 5-bedroom, 2-level home, but it doesn't matter. Even if this was a 1-bedroom flat, it's specifically what YouTube was designed for. I have a feeling I just pissed off some pedo and he invited a bunch of people to the stream. It doesn't matter to me because it's more viewers, and I'm looking for watch hours. So if you guys want to help me get monetized, sure, bombard the stream with bullshit. More insults, more insults. Alright, so, with all that being said, I've just checked the chat, there's no substance there. All this being said, 2020 is going to be an interesting year, because I've got a new format, and I want to bring back Hellscape as well, and I'm going to make my recordings of Hellscape that I upload to this channel more entertaining, because now that I have the professional version of Hit Film, I have the capacity to create like visualizers, to create backgrounds, all that shit. So things are about to start looking better, and then I just need to be consistent. So the plan is I'm going to compile news stories over a given week, and those news stories are what I'm going to hit on Fridays when I upload weekly Hellscape. So all that being said, if you decide you have a news story you want me to cover, you want to make sure I get out there, feel free. And when you submit it, you can send it to any one of the accounts that I have set up, and I'll try to get it out there, because there's a ton of news stories that are very valuable to cover, and I want to make sure that I keep up the heat this year, because it sort of died out when I had that like end of lease panic in the middle of the year, and I had to find a new place. And shout out to the Dank Pod Stash, by the way, for what they did for me. But all that being said, I want to start hitting these things very regularly. Checking the chat. I actually took a shower yesterday, but it's amusing that you're doing the "you look dirty" thing, because you have no avatar that celebrates you at all, and you don't also have any sort of reason to say what you're saying, so it doesn't matter. But whatever. Stop ignoring your chat. This isn't solely about a chat. This is more about announcements. But if you want to spam a bunch of insults, yeah, you're gonna get ignored. Why are my pupils so big? Am I injecting holy water? My pupils are big because of a fast metabolism, the fact that I have lighting set up so they're slightly dilated. There's a variety of reasons. Alright, so now that I check the chat again to confirm that there is no value to be there, the Pedos in Power series is coming. The series exposing CIA money is coming. The series discussing Republican and Democratic faults is coming. Weekly Hellscape is coming back, and I'll start posting on anti-pedo action again. So all this being said, I think that's it-ish. There's been a lot of slander. There's been a lot of lies. There's been a lot of people interested in taking me down and not interested in logic or reason. You can see some of them in the chat right now. So, you know, it's about moving forward. And that's something I have a hard time doing sometimes. You know, when people are lying, when people are insulting, when people don't have actual arguments for anything you're saying, it can be tempting to hit every single one of them and to, you know, really show them what for. But if you're going to be valuable at all, and this is from my experience and the experience that I've had the past year, you've got to learn when to say no, and you've got to learn when to sort of avoid feeding the trolls, avoid letting your day be consumed by a conversation even if it's valuable, because you could be spending that time making a really, really good case against whatever it is. And there's so much to be said for just turning it off. I had a guy, multiple people actually, yesterday, saying that it was okay and today to fuck 16-year-olds. And I had some strong issues with all these people, especially considering that the only conviction Epstein really had up to like mid-2017 was fucking a 16-year-old, or a series of them. And by that token, all these people that are saying it's okay to fuck a 16-year-old are saying Jeffrey Epstein did nothing wrong. And I refuse to accept that dichotomy. Neither do I accept the dichotomy that this is the way forward for libertarianism, for anarchy, for anything. If we're going to have a successful movement, it doesn't matter what that movement is. What matters is that it stays reasonable. That it stays like something that people think they'd be safer with. Because if the people preaching the most libertarian society can't even protect children, if the people preaching libertarian society have no way to be secure, then there's gonna be no libertarian society whatsoever. That society will collapse, it will leave. And we will never be able to replace it with anything, because the people who went out on a limb to try and support a potentially libertarian social order, all of them will have jumped ship. So we need consistency. We need some sort of cohesion, and we need to protect victims. And that's the way forward for anarchy. And you know, it's amusing because libertarianism, anarchy, both of these things have a huge stigma of people who claim to be libertarian or anarchist and just use it for pedophilia, just use it to try and get shit legal so that they can be gross. So, with all this said, Republicans and Democrats still have the biggest problem in this regard. They still have the biggest reasons to be opposed in this way. And the fact is, we could point that out. We could point out that, that for instance, there's a huge problem in Catholic churches to hit the Republicans. We could point out that there's a huge problem in public schools to hit Democrats. There's a huge amount that we could do to sort of get this image right, but only if a significant amount of us are willing to oppose those people, are willing to oppose those who would victimize, you know? So that's my general message. You know, 2020 has to be a year where people get consistent, get reasonable, and it has to be a year where the average person gets to feel that the average anarchist or libertarian is not as much of a threat to their liberty as the establishment. The way it currently is, like, there are people in my comments section today who say that they left libertarianism and anarchy because they decided it wasn't a home for safe children, because it wasn't a place where they could trust people to not touch kids. And they were thankful that I'm here to sort of keep it more sane, but they said that that still wasn't enough to convince them. So there has to be a significant amount of us. There have to be significant numbers willing to take a stand and say, you know, this shit won't stand, man. And, you know, all the people bombarding my posts, they have no argument. They have no reason to take. Epstein was a criminal. You know, most people are fine with admitting that. The people who aren't are the problem. And they're the reason he got to do what he did. There is no reason to give them any time. Except to maybe tell them to shut the fuck up. There's a shit ton to be said for networking. That's why I have a Keybase. For getting the word out. For constantly being a beacon of hope for people. Because the state isn't going to do that. The state is going to protect the pedophiles. The state is going to protect the crooked cops. Hello, Abby. Hello, all of the people who are genuinely here, who are frequent and normal subscribers. There's a pedo invasion in my chat here. I guess I triggered somebody by mentioning that I exposed a lot of pedos this year, and that so did my allies, my cohorts. We did a lot of good this year. And there are people in this chat now insulting my physical appearance, demanding I braid my hair. It's actually amusing that they think this is what's going to get me, because I've been enduring insults like this for a long time. Epstein was inspired by Konkin's writings. You really need to prove that claim. I've never had a job. Yeah. Keep all the standard insults going. Showing how uninventive you are and how damaged your brain is helps nobody but your enemies. Alright, what else? Are you streaming regularly? Because I have notifications on, and YouTube did not inform me of that. Unsurprising that Google doesn't like you. Yeah, I stream semi-regularly. I had one of my last streams with the Sounds Like Liberty people. It went for a few hours. I interviewed them about like their views on politics and economics and all that jazz. But like, I haven't been doing a lot of these just informal talking to people streams. And, part of the reason is that it often gets brigaded by people like this. But, it doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is that, there are good people in here. There's Abby Normal. She was on Twitter, I think. Are you banned on Twitter, Abby? Tell me that. So, what's your method of defending children? Do you believe that parents won't protect their children? I believe that many parents actively don't, and that sometimes the children that are easiest to victimize are children who have no parents in the picture. The foster system is practically a shunt for children to the pedophile rings, to sex rings, to human trafficking circles. And, so are camps. There's a lot of rapes that happen in camps, a lot of rapes that happen in public schools. Parents protecting their children while they're at home is one thing. Parents not being around their children all the time opens them up to grooming. We have to protect those children. Those children need protection from a vigilant society that's willing to call people out. So that's my general goal in that regard. Libertarian Rant says, you look like you belong in a Monomart, which is a compliment. Yes, I actually like them quite a bit. I get anything from that kind of thing to Rob Zombie, but I also get Charles Manson, so there's that. It doesn't matter to me. Charles Manson may have been a mass murderer, but it doesn't mean having long hair and a beard is a bad thing. Either way. Do I own guns? Not yet, but I plan to. Never really been able to afford them. I do own knives, though, and I practice multiple types of martial arts. And one of the things that I used to practice all the time back where I come from is Kali, which is a 3-range martial art of close-up with open hand. Then there's a mid-range with a knife and further out range with a stick. And there's also multiple ranges within those ranges for certain strikes and cuts. I know a few things. I also know many ways of like making poisons, incendiaries, that sort of thing. I learn a lot, but I don't have enough money to be able to afford a gun yet. I plan to, though. I plan to get a pistol, a shotgun, and a rifle as soon as possible. Especially since the Boogaloo might kick off and I might need to actually use one. LOL, you're so pissed, dude. Relax, buddy. I'm actually, comparatively speaking, relatively calm. But I do have this bipolarism that means I'm almost always at least a little angry. So there's that element of it. Like, night terrors since I was 4. Almost always angry. Hyperactive metabolism. There's a host of fucked up issues with my head. Does that glass eye ever pop out? I'm using. Snake Jones says, we homeschool. That's a good idea. And I also want to have a long series of discussions with homeschoolers and unschoolers. I want to have conversations about alternate forms of parenting that avoid either the predators or the indoctrinators. And there's a surprising amount of overlap between those two categories. So if I ever do start this, I will let you all know. Yeah, if anything, I'm not overly angry. I'm just dehydrated. My mouth is drier than a motherfucker. Abby says, I was banned. So, yeah. Well, I hope to see you back. Because even though we had our disagreements, I mean, she's the reason I wrote my Bitcoin is not fiat currency article. I do hope to see you back because having somebody there who's willing to have a discussion is a highly valuable thing. Knives are cop killers. People are cop killers. Weapons don't kill. Show me your knife. Well, let me see. Yeah, there we go. I knew it was somewhere on my desk. This is my go-to. I use it to chop up caffeine pills, and I generally practice some moves with it, like, got your asterisk, your multi-level stabs. There are various things you can do with a knife like that. So and that's part of the thing. Like, if somebody decided they wanted to shoot me with the world's best armor-piercing thing through a thermal scope through the doors here, they would do that, And if they actually wanted to come inside and try to fuck with me, the range at which we would probably be relatively knife-friendly. So, at least in my current position, I don't need very much equipment. But yeah, it all depends. And as soon as possible, I definitely want to get an AR-15, a SIG, ideally also a Mossberg shotgun. Probably gonna get that within the next year. Like, all three of those seem relatively well within my reach. I'm not gonna demonstrate martial arts in this small room. Maybe someday I'll do like a video on what I know. It'll be cringy as fuck since I'm not like well practiced right now, but maybe at some point. I'm more likely to do one on my workout routine, my diet, that sort of thing. Because one of the things I do is I use a gravity trainer. They're relatively cheap. You can get them at Walmart for like $20. And the general notion of gravity trainers is that the heavier you are and the further or closer you step from the doorway it's attached to, or the sort of surface it's connected to, the more or less you weigh and the more or less you carry. So, like, I would recommend anyone who wants to get in shape use one of those. Also, resistance bands. They're very good. They're not just for physical therapy. They can get your tendons stronger, and a strong tendon means a stronger muscle. So feel free to check into either of those. Mad Warrior says, hello. So you've come at exactly the right time. There's a lot of people angry at me for talking shit on pedos. So if you want to take some screenshots and post that the fight is still very much on, feel free. Do I smoke the devil's lettuce? No, I don't. I had a really bad incident with spice, and it left me screaming no in my poor friend's yard. And I've barely smoked anything since, much less weed, because anything that puts me in an altered headspace has a tendency to give me anxiety now, which is a shame because I really liked weed, I really liked salvia, and then I had this tainted fucking spice that basically fucked it up for me. Most I do, most of the time, is I'll have a drink or two, because I don't even really like to get drunk anymore. I'm pretty much clean and sober. The last time I smoked weed was maybe 8 or 9 months ago. It doesn't matter, though. And of course, this is all just like the quote controlled substances. My primary addiction that I've had since I was very young is caffeine. So, I mean, whatever. If your profile picture isn't an actual photo of yourself, you're a cowardly bitch. I can see the mentality behind that. I mean, all of these people could, like, authentically be the same person, just in different tabs or something. So, public school workers rape about 150 times more kids than priests yearly. Yeah, public school is a hellish place to be for a kid, especially since when you're not being controlled and programmed with Pavlovian instincts, you're being forced into a situation where you don't necessarily feel safe. And I hated school for multiple reasons, not the least of which was the fact that they seemed to intentionally set it up so that, like, the weak could fail and they could mock them for it. Like, for instance, they would give you this hyper-sugared lunch and then immediately force you into PE. And then the rest of the day, since the showers didn't work at the school, you would smell like PE, you would smell like body odor because they refused to fix the showers. And, you know, I would have been fine using the showers. I would have preferred using the showers. And frankly, I was pissed off that we couldn't, because the fact that I was not only tired but smelly for the rest of the day did nothing for my confidence. Um, but all that being said, let's move on. Yeah, bipolar and guns aren't a good combination. Jeremiah seems like a reasonable, sane individual who wouldn't shoot up a building. See, bipolarism is weird. It depends on the type you have and whether or not you have methods of keeping it under control. Like, the fact that I haven't, like, exploded on anybody in this chat is the result of me learning through both CBT and multiple, like, sort of self-helpish kind of mentalities, how to keep it under wraps. And the fact that you can keep yourself sane and healthy is your choice a lot of the time. It's not all the time, but like in some people's, bipolarism is just off the charts, out of control. But a lot of people can control it, and they definitely don't have problems with guns. I should get some armor. I do plan on that. I plan on getting a nice plate carrier with some thick-ass plates. Have I stabbed anyone yet? I accidentally stabbed myself once. I was doing dishes and a knife went really far into this part of my hand. Like about this far in. It surprisingly didn't hurt very much because I got like under the fascia. Like it hurt here and it sort of ached for a few days while it healed. But I sort of just let it happen. I didn't even get stitches. I didn't want to talk to anybody about it. And that was when I was in like high school. The scar is really thin at this point. But the only person I've ever stabbed is myself as yet. Since we've got all these people in here asking absurd questions, I might as well answer. I should not try heroin. I have a lot of addiction in my family, and I don't want to get addicted to anything more than caffeine. Weed sounds like it might calm you down, just saying. See, and being angry a lot isn't fun. See, weed used to. I used to be able to mellow into a couch, but now, because the spice was close enough to the way weed feels, like, it has that constant edge of anxiety the whole time. So, like, I can occasionally smoke sativa, but I can never smoke indica heavy strains, and, like, I wish I could. I wish I could enjoy it again. But at this point, you know, it's actually kind of good that I'm not. Because living with a substance as your go-to for dealing with psychological conditions isn't a good way to live unless you absolutely have to. I deal with my anger by taking it out on a workout, usually. Usually I'll just go out and really hammer one out for the day. That's the way I normally handle it. Got somebody telling me to hang myself on stream. That's a negative, Ghost Rider. Sober 9 years, brother. Good for you. I drinketh from the cup of sobriety. I'm glad to hear it. My school refused to fix the air conditioner for a long time during the spring and summer, so there was that. Do you think the 20s will be good for libertarian anarchism or not? It depends. Because first off, like I said, there's a huge problem. There's a problem with tankies. There's a problem with alt-righters thinking that libertarianism is for them while they still, like, idolize Pinochet, idolize throwing people out of helicopters for disagreeing with them. Pedophiles are still a huge problem in libertarianism. You know, people who can't make arguments but still want to claim that they have ideological consistency because they claim to be a libertarian. I mean, there's a host of problems in that regard. I don't think libertarianism is going to do very well in 2020. Now, when Trump gets another term, and a bunch of people start realizing that the Republicans aren't there for their liberty either, and when he starts to really crack down in a lot of ways, I think that libertarianism might actually see a resurgence, especially since a lot of right libertarians might, stress this might, shut the fuck up about how great Trump is. Certainly not the liberty hangouts of the world. They don't care. They don't have to care. They've already got a massively conservative audience, and they can pander to that as much as they want. They can drive libertarianism into the ground by being the shitholes they are. You know, I don't think they and their ilk have any inclination or reason to change. They're making a lot of money posting bullshit. But other people have an opportunity. Other people have a very strong chance of proving that libertarianism can do something good. You know? If they decide to. No more questions. But yeah, so I'm starting that, Harding_network on Twitter. Lots and lots of good stuff is going to come out of that. Let me check and see if anybody's got a message for me anywhere. Because I actually thought this would be shorter. The fucking pedos gave me a lot of material to hit them on and hit other people on, so I have no problem keeping this going to not cede any ground. It's not even been an hour yet, too. It's amusing. It kind of feels like it has been. Yeah, looks like there are no immediate questions. Let me check my inbox on YouTube. Yep. Alright. Well, if anybody has anything else to say to me, now is the time. Sorry, Jeremiah, a real man showed up in your chat and half of them left. You know, it would be amusing if that was true. I think it might have something to do with it that they didn't have their fucking echo chamber they were trying to develop. Who in this chat still lives with their parents and or in the middle of high school? It wouldn't surprise me if some of them were that way, especially since like there's a significant amount of minor allies. More insults about showering. You know, it's amusing people make that joke, especially since my hair is literally shiny. There's precisely zero reason anybody who actually knows hair would make a joke like that. Maybe some balding, stupid neckbeard living in a basement would have a problem with the way my hair looks, but anybody who knows how it works has no problems whatsoever. Yeah, alright. Well, the general thing that's going to happen, I'm going to fire a bunch of series up. I'm going to get my hellscape back up and going. There's going to be a lot of people. Oh, I see it. I see another question. I have electromagnetic hypersensitivity. I'm allergic to Wi-Fi. I've heard of that. Do you think more people will have electromagnetic hypersensitivity in 2020? I mean, maybe. I don't know if that's something you inherit or if that's something you can gain through your life. So it all depends, really. You know, I mean, because I'm not, like, medically familiar with it. I've heard of it, and I've read some articles about it, but I've never looked at, like, actual papers about it. So, but like, I've heard scientists say that it is actually a real thing. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's heritable. I don't know if it's earned. You know, it all depends, really. But with all that being said, I just wanted to get this stream out there, have a nice informal chat, and get some of these kinds of ideas out in the open. If there's anything you'd like me to do, consider being a patron. consider like donating on PayPal, any of these things. And you'll have the opportunity to influence my content by telling me who you think I should interview, what you think I should talk about. I'll try and do that to the best of my ability within reason. Like, I'm not going to start being pro-pedo because somebody paid me. you know. With all that being said, I'm going to probably log off relatively soon. Wonder if that Wi-Fi condition has anything to do with heavy metal toxicity. That wouldn't surprise me. Like, maybe like you've got too much of it in your skin. Like, it's isolating in your skin or your fat or something. I don't know about that. Snake Jones says check out Gabriel Cruz about that, and Deborah Tavares, something like that. Anyway, that's about it. If any of you want to support me, there are many ways to do that in the description. I wanted to get out the sponsor messages, but I wanted to do that closer to the end because I wanted to make sure I banged out all this stuff when people would be the most, the closest to it. Sponsored by libertyunderattack.com. Looking for a Liberty-focused publisher, Liberty Under Attack Publications assists authors through the entire publishing process, proofreading, editing, cover designs, and paperback and Kindle formatting, and full audiobook narration and post-production. Tell them Jeremiah sent you and take 20% off a full-service deal. Also, they still have their proofreading and editing service deal going on right now, so feel free to check out the site for that too. To publish... Sorry. It's been a hell of a week and a hell of a year. They also publish books and strategy guides for individuals looking to increase their personal freedom. Great anarchist fiction like #Agora and guides like Shane Radliff's Vonu, a strategy for self-liberation. To publish your next book or to find your next read, please visit libertyunderattack.com. Share your story, find your freedom. Okay, I see that message, Snake. I actually have a bad address already. My channel should be already verified. If it isn't, then I have to go in and alter some settings. But I'll see about doing that so that I can get some of that if the offer is still there. I should be able to do that relatively soon. I actually am partnered with Brave. And I also just recently got a partnership with Unstoppable Domains. So I'm going to start hitting some of these things hard, but I'm also going to start pushing people in the direction of alternative technology. Leave me a place where I can find you after the stream, and I will send you all relevant information. Now for the next sponsor, Liberty Professionals. Liberty Professionals will help you secure your home, small business, and life. It's run by a residential security expert who is an ASIS board-certified physical security professional. And if you need work done in the Virginia area, they do missing persons investigations, skip tracing, and more. Contact them for more info. He has all the necessary tools in his toolbox to bring you peace of mind and stability for the future. Support Liberty businesses and these streams by heading over to libertyprofessionals.com to get your consult today. So those are the two main sponsors. Also, if you have something you want to pitch to my audience within reason, like, I'm not going to advertise your kiddie porn website, hit me up, I have very reasonable rates for sponsor slots, and I have about 2 to 3 more depending on how long each given one is. And I can generally work within your budget, so feel free to hit me up if that sounds good. All this being said, also, one last thing. Go check out the Not a True Libertarian podcast or something. I don't know. I've been paid to roast it. It's got the worst audio quality. It's got the shittiest host. He asks like the longest winded, least pointed questions. God, it's awful. You should definitely not check it out. And like the audio quality kind of starts to improve after episode 5, but it's pretty bad. It's like he does it from a phone or something. It constantly cuts out. There's constant issues with it, and there's not a real libertarian on that. So if you want to go see the Not a Real Libertarian podcast, feel free. Can't believe he paid me to say that. And also, just one more shout out for 2020 to Sea Traffic, who puts out great libertarian music under Free Knots and Sea Traffic, or Traffy Low on Twitter. He is a Miami-based, I believe, rapper, and he does some great stuff. So feel free to check out all of that. He shot some stuff my way in the past, and I definitely want to support him going forward. And everybody who's been there with me through 2020, there's about to be a whole lot more good stuff 2019. Fucking, I'm already in 2020 in my mind. There's going to be a whole lot more stuff, a whole lot more good stuff in 2020. So with all that being said, it looks like I don't have any more questions. This has been your... yeah, it's pretty funny. Fucking... I just tipped you some BAT. Let me go check that. Thank you! I hope to earn it. I hope to earn this sort of thing. Anyway, I'm starting to lose my threads here. So, be well, y'all. Smash the state.